Hello everyone, wishing you all good health and peace in life. A new home has risen from days of struggle and nights of silent sacrifice, its walls carrying not just strength, but love. The new house is completed, yet a question lingers in every heart. Will Dee and Huyen decide to get married and live together until old age? Is this the moment when two souls, once broken by life's storms, finally find the courage to choose forever? Sometimes, a home is not just a place to live, it is the beginning of a promise that lasts a lifetime. The morning sun spread its golden light over the newly finished house, casting gentle shadows across the bamboo fence. For the first time in many years, Dee stood in front of a home he had built with his own hands, not just for himself, but for the two people who had given meaning to his life, Huyen and little Maya. The walls carried not only the scent of fresh paint, but also the quiet dreams of a family longing for peace. Inside, Maya's laughter echoed as she ran barefoot across the clean wooden floor, her tiny hands brushing against the new curtains. Huyen watched her daughter with teary eyes, her heart trembling with a mix of gratitude and fear. She had endured storms, betrayals, and lonely nights. But now, in this humble home, a question rose within her soul. Could this be the beginning of the life she had always prayed for? Dee, silent and gentle as ever, stood by the doorway. His heart was heavy with unspoken feelings. He had carried bricks, lifted beams, and sacrificed his strength to give them this safe place. Yet one question lingered in his mind: should he take the final step, ask Huyen to marry him, and promise her a life together until their hair turned gray? The house was ready. The laughter was there, but was their love strong enough to bind them forever? That evening, the house glowed softly under the light of a single oil lamp. Huyen sat quietly at the table, her hands folding the edges of a cloth she had just washed. Maya had already fallen asleep on the new bed, her small breath steady and innocent. The silence between Huyen and Dee was not heavy, it was tender, filled with emotions both of them were afraid to speak aloud. Dee finally broke the stillness. His voice was low, almost trembling. Huyen, for many years I lived with nothing but empty walls and a restless heart. But since you and Maya came, this house has become alive. I do not know what the future holds, but I want to spend the rest of my days protecting you both. Will you let me? Huyen looked up, her eyes shining with tears. For so long, she had feared trusting a man again. Her past had left scars, and the thought of marriage was heavy in her heart. Yet as she looked at Dee, his calloused hands, his gentle gaze, his unwavering care for Maya, she felt a warmth that melted her doubts. Dee, she whispered, her voice breaking, I have been afraid for so long, but you have shown me that love can be kind and safe and patient. If we choose this path, if we decide to be together until old age, then I want it to be with you. Dee reached across the table and held her hand. It was a simple gesture, yet in that moment, it felt like a vow. The house, still new and fragile, became more than just wood and walls. It became the beginning of a shared life, a place where laughter, tears, and love would all belong. Outside, the night wind rustled through the trees, as if blessing their promise. The next morning, the sun poured gently through the window, filling the new house with golden light. Maya woke first, her laughter ringing like a bell as she ran barefoot across the wooden floor. Uncle Dee, Mommy, look, the sun is dancing in our house, she shouted, pointing at the golden rays. Huyen followed her with a soft smile, brushing Maya's hair back. Dee was already outside, chopping firewood, his shirt damp with morning dew, When he came back inside, his eyes softened at the sight of the two people who had given his life meaning. "Today," Dee said warmly, "we should cook something special. This house deserves a celebration." Huyen laughed lightly. "Then we'll make guava leaf tea and rice with bamboo shoots. We may not have much, but it will be enough." The three of them worked together, each adding small touches of joy. Maya insisted on arranging wildflowers she had picked the day before into a jar, placing it proudly in the middle of the table. Huyen cooked with gentle care, humming softly. Dee fixed small cracks in the door, whistling as he worked. When they finally sat down to eat, the food was simple, yet it tasted like a feast. Maya clapped her hands. "This is the happiest home ever." Dee and Huyen exchanged a glance. It was unspoken, but clear. They were no longer just three individuals sharing a roof, they were a family. That evening, as stars appeared one by one in the sky, Huyen sat on the porch with Dee. Maya was asleep inside, clutching her doll. "Dee," Huyen said softly, "do you think love can last, truly last, even when life is hard?" Dee turned to her, his voice steady. "Love is not about having everything. It is about choosing to stay every day, in the good times and in the storms. And I choose you, Huyen. I choose Maya. Until old age." Huyen leaned her head against his shoulder, her heart finally at peace. The house stood behind them, strong and warm, a symbol of their new beginning. And in the quiet night, their dream of a shared life had already begun. Years passed, and the little wooden house slowly grew older. Yet it remained filled with warmth and laughter. The once new walls now carried the scent of years of cooking, the marks of Maya's playful drawings, and the quiet strength of Dee's repairs. Maya had grown taller, her hair tied neatly with a ribbon her mother had sewn. Every morning, she ran down the village path with a school bag on her back, waving to her mother and uncle before disappearing behind the trees. Her dream of going to school had finally come true. Maya had grown taller, her hair tied neatly with a ribbon her mother had sewn. Every morning, she ran down the village path with a school bag on her back, waving to her mother and uncle before disappearing behind the trees. Her dream of going to school had finally come true. Dee watched her each morning with pride in his eyes. He worked harder than ever, taking jobs in the fields, repairing neighbors' fences, and sometimes staying up late at night to carve wooden toys. For Maya, his hands were rough and scarred, but everything he touched carried love. Huyen, too, found peace in her days. She tended the garden behind the house, planting rows of vegetables, her laughter echoing as she chased away chickens nibbling at the leaves. At night, she often sat by the window, stitching clothes under the dim oil lamp while waiting for Dee to return from work. One evening, Maya came home with a piece of paper in her hand. "Mom, Uncle Dee, look," she exclaimed. It was her school report, filled with good grades and a note from the teacher praising her for her kindness and intelligence. Tears welled in Huyen's eyes as she hugged her daughter tightly. Dee placed his hand gently on Maya's head and said, "You've made us proud, little one. But remember, being kind is even more important than being clever." That night, as they shared dinner under the soft glow of the lamp, Maya looked at both of them and whispered, "When I grow up, I'll build you a big house, one with strong walls and a roof that never leaks, so you won't ever have to worry again." Dee and Huyen exchanged a glance, their hearts swelling with quiet joy. They didn't need a big house, their true home was already here, built with sacrifice, love, and hope. But hearing those words, they knew Maya was growing not only in knowledge but in love, the very love that had saved them all. In life, we often measure happiness by material things, a bigger house, more money, or a better position. But the story of Huyen and Maya teaches us that true happiness is not built from bricks or gold, but from love, sacrifice, and shared hope. The little wooden house they lived in was simple, even fragile. Its roof leaked when it rained. Its walls bore the marks of time, yet within it was a warmth that no storm could destroy. That warmth came from the kindness of a man who silently worked day and night, from the resilience of a mother who never gave up, and from the innocent love of a child who dreamed not only for herself, but also for those she loved. This story reminds us that love is the strongest foundation of any home. Even when life strips away comfort and security, love can rebuild everything stronger and more beautiful than before. These sacrifices, Huyen's perseverance, and Maya's dream show us that the greatest gift we can give each other is not wealth, but presence, protection, and hope. We all face struggles in different forms, but if we hold on to love and kindness, every hardship can be transformed into strength. And in the end, it is not the size of the house that matters, but the size of the hearts that live inside it. Another truth this story shows us is the importance of choosing courage over fear. Both Dee and Huyen had painful pasts, broken marriages, loneliness, and struggles that left scars in their hearts. It would have been easier for them to protect themselves by keeping a distance, never risking love again. But instead, they chose to trust, to open their hearts, and to build a life together. In doing so, they proved that love after hardship is not only possible, it can be even more meaningful. A second chance in life is like a seed planted in rocky soil. It may take more effort to grow, but once it blooms, its roots are deeper, and its flowers carry a fragrance of resilience. We can learn from Dee and Huyen that it is never too late to begin again. Even when the world tells us we are broken, love can make us whole. Even when the past threatens to define us, we have the power to write a different ending. And perhaps the most beautiful lesson of all comes from Maya, the child who held no bitterness, only laughter and hope. Children remind us that life is simpler than we think. What they need is not wealth, but love, care, and a safe home. When we give them that, we also heal parts of ourselves. And perhaps the most beautiful lesson of all comes from Maya, the child who held no bitterness, only laughter and hope. Children remind us that life is simpler than we think. What they need is not wealth, but love, care, and a safe home. When we give them that, we also heal parts of ourselves.